Well, welcome everyone today to the second round of Candidates 2020. This is going to be a roundup, and I have the guest with me who will be joining me is Grandmaster Vidit Gujrathi, India number two. You know, it's always been my sort of dream to learn from a 2700 plus GM, and in this roundup show, Vidit will be explaining to us all what happened in the four rounds of in the four games of the candidates. So let's welcome him. Vidit, welcome to the live show.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
Vidit, second round of the candidates. Two decisive games until now. I think we're going to have three decisive games because Anish is under big pressure against Wang Hao. So,
Yes,
a lot of
it could.
fighting chess.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the openings after the games began, like after 15 minutes or so, I thought, okay, there could be many draws today,
Hmm.
but the players keep surprising and in a good way.
Yeah, even today I told Amruta that today's games are not as interesting as yesterday, especially because let's say in the game with MVl-Ding Liren, they played this E4, E5, Rai Lopez, very steady, solid lines,
Mhm.
but the game ended very quickly.
Yeah, and actually, to be honest, it could have even been 4-0 because Grishuk was much better against Nepo.
Ah,
Uh, so we'll have a look at that. But yeah, it could have been easily 4-0 as well. I
correct.
mean, I don't know. I mean, Anish is still playing and he has not so good chances to make a row, but let's see. Still, the game is going on.
Right. So before we dive into the games, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at these games of players against whom you have played in the past and will be your competitors in the future, what exactly do you look at? Do you analyze them deeply, or you are doing some of your own work and you are also looking at these games simultaneously?
No, previously when I used to look at these games, it used to be very superficial. Like, I just see what they have played and the opening choice and just like where did they go wrong and something like this. But it was on a very much like a surface level. But now when I'm checking it, I'm doing it more thorough, I would say. Uh, as we like, also one of the reasons probably is because I'm doing these videos, but no, in general now I try to uh, understand more why they played this, why they went for this line, because okay, you keep evolving as a player, and also for me it's more interesting to go deeper and then figure out what was really happening rather than just looking at the competitive evaluations just like that, because that doesn't give any information to me.
Correct. So it would make sense to start off with the first game of
Yeah.
Caruana, especially because in that game there were some very interesting decisions made by Fabi. You know, he played the very aggressive line, the same-ish variation in the Nimzo Indian.
Yes. Actually, this Semish line was not played so often at the top level.
Hmm.
So that's why when I played it in 2019 January against Kramnik,
Yes.
it was not expected by him, and it got me a good win. Um, like there are a few players who play it, like Volkov, Momedero, but uh, Momedero, for example, uses mainly in rapid games or blitz games in slower time controls. And this line was not so popular, but I think since last year it has become quite trendy.
So what would you say, like F3, is it like you're playing for a win or playing aggressively? How do you see this system as?
It's very ambitious, I would say, uh, compared to, let's say, Quincy 2 Nimzo Union, where everything has been kind of analyzed uh, till draw in
Also
many
one
of
of your favorite weapons, yes?
yes, I used to play Quincy 2 as well.
Correct.
But F3 is more fresh and it can lead to more unbalanced positions because there are many lines T5, C5, and it's the last word has not been established.
Okay. Okay. So Alexiev went d5,
Yeah,
a3, bishop e7.
Yeah, this is one of the lines which kind of reduces the options for white, uh, and it's quite popular nowadays among the top players.
Right. So the main line is to actually take and play c5, right?
Yeah, c5 and now cd, knight d5, dc. Now you can either play queen a5, you can go f5, and there are many lines. Like instead of knight d5, you can even take ed. This is what Kramnik did against me. But this, okay, it's a huge branch. Yeah, let's not go
Right.
deep into it. Yeah, but bishop e7 is one of the moves. You can even play bishop d6. So it's like very rich position, as you can see. So many options, and that's why I think with white, not many people go here because you have to know so much for one game.
Correct.
That's the downside. That's why it's not so trendy as it was, as it should be.
Right. But e4 just gets a good center position, right?
Although it could be overextended. That's Black's argument.
Yeah. So de, fe, and usually black was playing e5, right, at the first, but now he started playing c5.
Yeah, yeah. E5, D5, Bishop C5. There were some games in this line, and there are many moves. For example, Knight F3, Bishop G4, H3, and now you can either go Bishop H5 or takes on F3.
Hmm.
Uh, Eventually, like Black takes on F3 somehow, Queen F3, and it used to. It looks like Black has good control over the dark squares, which is true. But later they found out that it doesn't compensate for the extra space, and white can just go g4 g5 later on, uh, and he has the easier game.
Okay.
So that's why they started to look for new ways, and c5 is very reasonable. I think in latest game probably in this line was Firuza played it against I mean
Anand.
Anand played it against Firuza.
Yeah.
Firuza was white.
And Firuza went for e5, which seemed like a very committal move.
Yeah, it's not so good, I think, in my opinion.
Okay. So, but d5 is the most natural move, yeah, and in this position.
Yes. So ed, and it's all about subtleties in this position. For example, after castles, bishop e2, you have to play.
Yeah, I don't understand why not. Why can't we go knight f3?
Yes, exactly. I'll explain. So knight f3, and the point is now black can go bishop d6,
Okay. And
and in
now
the
bishop
game he
e2.
cannot go. Yeah, and now he can go bishop g4.
And what did you gain? Like I castle.
No, in the game I provoke rook e8 from you, which is an extra move because we can compare the position. Let's say bishop e2. Now if you go bishop d6,
Yeah.
I have knight b5,
Mm. Ah, and
and
you lose the bishop because bishop e7 is met with d6.
yeah, I mean you have to give up the bishop.
Yeah.
And if you do the same after knight f3, for example, on the 10th move,
This way.
yeah, knight f3, bishop d6, knight b5. Now you have the option of playing bishop g4, and let's say you play knight d6, queen d6, bishop e2, bishop f3, and now if you play bishop f3, there's rook e8, uh, and it's kind of uncomfortable for white to parry this check. But in the game, let's say after bishop e2, he goes bishop d6.
Mm-hmm.
After knight b5, there is no bishop g4 option.
Wow, that's deep. And so here actually black doesn't have a sort of a good move, you can say.
Yeah, I mean that's the entire point, to provoke rook e8,
Hmm.
so that you. It's all about winning this minor advantages.
Fantastic. Very deep. So in the game, rook e8 had to be played, and now
Yes,
you go knight f3.
knight f3. Yeah, bishop g4, castles, and now you see like black is still struggling to play bishop d6, which is ideal square for him. If he
Yeah,
could, he would be all right. Bishop
but
d6. There is again knight b5.
you don't ever want to give up this bishop, so
Yes.
you can't play that.
So now knight d7. Now he's ready to play bishop d6, but now d6. That's the additional point.
So the point is, let's assume that if I play a move like say king h1 here, you play bd6, knight b5, bishop b8, because now this square is freed up. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
So now you see, like, when you just look at it like on a superficial basis, it just seems like a move, bishop e2 or
Yeah.
something like knight f3. But when you try to connect the pieces, the jigsaw puzzle, you see that every move has a certain point. Why this? And
Exactly, exactly. And I think if you look at it deeply, you can learn it. But do you think, you being such a strong player and you can understand this, do you think how can normal players, someone who's rated around 2200 or so, or say a player like me 2400, how can he understand such subtleties? It's
no, it's not like I learned it overnight, and I was born with it. Like, even you asked me in this position, you were curious, right? Like, bishop e2 is a strange move,
Mhm.
right? So that's a good start. Like, you were curious about it.
Right.
And then you just have to explore why. You just have to figure out by analyzing and seeing the differences. So
So curiosity
this
is the first step, you mean to say.
yeah, I mean, if you don't understand something, you have to try to understand it. Basically, that's all. Like, if you don't know meaning of the word, you look up in the dictionary. So you put up the engine, try to analyze, or you just analyze with your friend, whatever works for you.
Yeah, and it helps to ask you directly, because if I had to understand this, I would have maybe used up 2 to 3 hours, maybe even more. But here I get the answer in 2 minutes.
2 to 3 hours, yeah. Wow. I doubt, but okay.
You mean to say I would have taken longer?
No, shorter.
Okay. Okay, so bishop d6, and what about this pawn? It's a very concrete line, but do you see it as a weakness or as a strength?
See, I think it's not so. It's pointless to look at it just like the pawn on d6. Let's say if it's black to move, it's just lost for white. He can just collect the pawn.
With
But
rook.
it's now the game is in a very sharp uh, stage. Like, every move counts, every move matters.
Hmm.
So I think this general, it's obvious that the pawn on d6 is not really well guarded or something, but it's about the particular position,
Right. So
and
very
it's
concrete.
it's white to move. He has the, like, to say, he's having the extra initiative or tempo, whatever you can call it.
So
um, and it was all preparation by Fabi. It was obvious.
yeah, because this has been played before, right? This
And this
position.
makes me wonder, like, the thing was, Alexenko, he got surprised
Hmm.
by f3, and he could not remember his analysis. That's what I think. Because d6 is not one of, it's the moves shown by the engine.
Right.
So probably he could not recall his analysis, and it was a big surprise because Fabi, for example, mainly plays e4. He plays d4 time to time, but he probably did not expect f3 Nimzo from him. I don't remember Fabi playing it. So it
So
was a good surprise, which caught him off guard.
yeah, smart opening choice by Caruana. I think a lot of his choices are come from his second Kazim Janov, who is there present with him.
Hmm. Obviously, yeah, it's a work joint effort, I think, usually.
Correct.
So, anyways, after h3, bishop h5,
Yeah.
knight b5. Okay, this was the critical moment. Um, I think Alexenko thought for a long time in this position.
Yes.
Uh, Let me
Uh,
see how long was it.
I think I have the times. Just checking. Knight b5. Yeah, he
Yeah,
thought for 36 minutes. Wow.
yeah, and like we will see again in the game of Anish against Wang Hao.
Hmm.
Probably when you think for so long, it's
You c-
usually the wrong move which you end up playing.
you come up with a bad move. Yeah.
No, it's not bad move. Sometimes you're looking deeply, and you see so many variations, and you get totally confused at the end. You see your clock ticking and you think, oh shit, I wasted 30 minutes in this position. Now I have to just play something. and then you play the worst move possible. It's like that. Not worst move possible, but you just play something which is not like based on complete confidence that you're sure that this is the best move. You just play it
Correct.
eventually because you don't know what to play in that position.
Yeah, but I think if you are playing against a player like Caruana in such a position, it should be your preparation. Otherwise, it's really difficult to navigate every single move.
Yeah, in this position. If he knew it, it would not be so tough for him to handle.
Right. And
There are,
have you seen this position before? Have you prepared it?
yeah, I used to play f3, and I think engine shows two moves: queen b6 and rook b8. And rook b8 is more normal because in queen b6 you have to give an exchange after knight c7.
Okay, so queen
But rook,
b6, knight c7, and here you can pick up this pawn, but
yeah, bishop d6, knight 8, rook 8, and you have compensation. But okay, it's not the end of the story.
okay, and rook b8 is more is the
Yeah,
best move here,
yeah, because you cannot take on a7. I think there's bishop d6,
and if
and the
queen
e2
b6,
bishop is hanging.
right?
So after rook b8, okay, the line goes on. Yeah, knight c7, knight rook e4, and all kinds of. It's a big it's a big mess. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
But
usually you take and you plonk your rook here and try all these things.
yes, like how we did in the game, but he was already two tempos down. If you
Yeah,
compare actually, that he wasted one move on rook e6, and he like two moves actually. Now white got bishop f4,
hmm,
a6, knight c7, rook e4. So when you compare, yeah, like white's bishop is already on f4.
yes.
1 second, sorry.
And if white were to take on a8 here, then rook f4, and somehow black is doing completely fine here.
Yeah, why would you take on a8? Yeah, the bishop on f4 is much more valuable.
Correct.
And in this position, actually, bishop h2 was slightly imprecise.
Hmm.
It's subtle, so
So
I wouldn't hold it against Fabi.
I think queen d2 and bg3 could be the other options, right?
The thing is, I could show in the game actually. Let's say bishop h2,
Hmm.
rook c8. Now black is threatening to play bishop f3.
Yes.
Let's say you play some random move, yeah, just a4 for example, just to show the point. Bishop f3, rook d4, right?
Yeah.
But now if you compare, if we go a bit back,
Hmm.
you play queen d2, and now if you play something like rook c8, you go rook d1. Now bishop f3 is not a threat because you take rook d4, you have queen c1, and the d6 pawn is protected.
Ah.
So again, it's like this jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, queen d2 looks, you don't know why is it better than bishop h2, but when you try to see the point what's happening, you understand that, oh, this is the entire
The point was to get
the
the
story.
rook on d1,
Yeah, no, to protect d6 basically.
protect d6. Right. Vidit, I'm already feeling like I'm learning so much, and I know so little about chess with all these subtle ideas in this game.
Yeah, I mean,
Fantastic.
it's I didn't know about this. Of course, I had not analyzed it or something. I just was when I was preparing for this video, I was looking at these games, trying to
Correct.
understand what really was going on. And that's for me, that's what makes it interesting. Otherwise, it's a very mechanical work. Yeah,
Correct.
to just see the games and
Yes.
not gain anything from it.
So bishop h2 was okay, natural, rook c8, and now he's threatening bishop f3 and rook d4. So Fabi went g4.
Yeah, bishop g6 would be a shame. I mean,
Yeah. Already
because
bd3, I think, traps the rook.
no, you have rook
No,
e3.
sorry, rook e3.
Uh, but in any case, like the only threat which black had was to take on f3, and that's now gone.
Right.
I think there is more than one way to play it properly.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it was important to go desperate. Actually, Indian was showing knight g4, and it looks counterintuitive, like hg rook g4, king h1,
Yeah.
and now what? Like your bishop is stuck on h5, rook on g4, but Indians don't have any complexes. Now it shows a brilliant move, rook g6.
Rook g6. Okay.
The idea is to play rook h6. Okay, I have a bad rook, I just improve it. kind of.
And the rook is well placed on h6.
Yeah, and he gets some counterplay. But okay, white is of course still better. But okay, just one of the lines. We don't need to really go deep
Correct.
because it's more normal to play bishop g4, hg, knight g4, because now you at least take on h2, and then you threaten to take on d6 and stuff like that.
Also, knight e3 is a threat here. So,
I think knight h2 is a bigger threat. You wouldn't mind giving the rook. The bishop on h2 is much more valuable.
yeah, you want to take this bishop and then pick up this pawn here.
Yes.
Right.
I think the next phase of the game was played uh, quite well by Fabi. There was only one important point. Let's say bishop d3,
Hmm.
knight h2,
Yeah.
bishop e4, knight f1, queen f1, and now apparently it was important to play knight f6 for because in the game after bishop d6, knight d5, the knight was just very strong on d5 and it was very difficult to play.
Hmm.
So knight f6, kicking the bishop away, and then taking on d6 was correct.
Right.
But after bishop d6, knight d5, I think it was just.
But after knight f6, how do you assess the position? Can I do something like bishop b7 here or
I think rook b8, no?
rook b8 and maybe black is getting a lot of play here with
Yeah,
bishop
yeah. No, I
b6.
think white has to play rook e1 after knight f6. And then you take the bishop, knight
Yeah,
e4, rook e4, bishop d. No, no.
yeah, there is
Probably
rook
you
e8.
should start with bishop d6. Sorry, bishop d6, knight d5, and then knight e4. I mean, compared to the game, you have exchanged one minor piece, which is in your favor.
But because of this beautiful knight, I think white would still be
Of course,
clearly
of
better.
course, white is clearly better and he has very good chance of winning. But just it was a much tenacious defense. But after in the game, I think I don't see really because Fabi played quite well the rest of the game.
Yeah, I have one question before we move ahead. Like after bd3, could I just go back with my rook somewhere? I don't know. There's no real square.
You have no squares.
I was thinking rook e3 also. I mean, somehow doesn't look right. Yeah, just doesn't. The rook is just misplaced. So
Yeah,
I
you can
have.
just go bishop f4 back probably as well.
Yeah. So that's why black had to take on h2 and then this kind of force sequence. And
Yeah.
here,
The
I think.
one move which I really liked was king h1 after king g7. Now you bring the rook and all your pieces are in the game and you just look at black's pieces completely out.
Correct.
So this mate has to come sooner or later.
Actually, even this move knight h4 was very nice because if you kind of take here on e5, then black is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, knight h4 is good, yeah. But it's already not so tough, but yeah, it's a good move.
Yeah.
Rook g1, knight f5, and now it's automatic.
Okay, 5 pieces in the attack is a bit too much. So,
Yes. No, just to sum it up, I think it was like Fabi surprised him, uh, Caruana surprised him, and then Alekseenko did not remember. And after that, it's already a tough position, so it's not really easy to come back.
right.
So uh, he got a big advantage in the opening, and then he converted it. So the turning point was just right in the beginning.
Well, if I was in Alekseenko's shoes, I would say to myself that I really didn't get a chance to play in the game, right? In a way, I got there was
Yeah,
no
but
point,
at the top level, it's you cannot really go with this because you have to be really well prepared. As
right?
you can see, like
Yeah.
against a 2800 and world number two, you have to be on top
So,
of
so
your
the
game.
uh, so the one thing which I would say, of course, with it summarize the game. But the one major mistake was rook e6, and instead of that, black should have tried rook b8, and this would have been fine. Okay, with it, what shall we see next? There are three more games. Uh,
Oh, I was just curious, and it looks like Anish has survived almost.
really, it's going on still, or
Yeah, it's going on still. We'll look at it once it's over.
okay,
Till then,
okay.
we can look at some others.
Let's go to Ding Liren versus MVL
Yeah.
because I think that was another decisive game.
Yes.
And first question that I want to ask you is what's wrong with Ding Liren? He's on 0 out of 2. I mean, I could have never imagined this.
Yes, it's really surprising. But today's loss of him was normal. I think yesterday's loss was a bit strange. Today, I think he just collapsed right out of the opening. He just did not put up any. It just didn't feel like Ding Liren was playing.
Yeah,
Today.
exactly. It seems like someone whose shadow of himself is there in Russia. But this game, I'm very glad that I'm discussing it with you because the opening is really beyond my understanding. I mean, White plays all these little moves and all of a sudden gets a winning position. It's just what happened.
Okay, let's have a look.
So it's the Rai Lopez uh, and castles, bishop e7, rook e1, all very standard. B5, bishop b3, and black castle. So I mean, he was looking to play the marshal.
Yes, I mean c3 d5. It's traditional martial,
Yeah,
and okay, so naturally all other moves which White plays are anti-martial
correct.
to avoid this, and h3 is one of it. every
H3,
move every
A4.
move yes, every move has its own plus and minuses. um, like after a4 you can play b4 or bishop b7. There's d3 in this position, and d3 d6, then it transposes to some Rai Lopez with early d3 and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
uh, so after h3, bishop b7, d3. Apart from d6, there's also move d5.
D5, yeah, here.
Yes,
And if I take you,
knight d5, knight e5. And if you there was this famous game, uh, I don't recall how it went exactly.
mhm.
Okay, here there are two moves, I think knight d4 and knight e5.
Knight D4, okay. But okay, if I take on E5, rook
Rook
E5,
e5. Yeah, it's a big theory. It's just a completely different branch.
like knight F6 and then BD6, something similar like you have these two bishops like that.
I don't think they play knight f6. I think they play queen d6.
Okay.
But queen d7 also. I mean, I think many moves. It's a different branch altogether.
Mhm.
But d6 is a slower approach. D5 is when you want to solve the problems by force,
Right,
and d6 is like more of maneuvering. And it's not a surprise that Ding played d6 because he had already played two games,
right,
and Ding is an expert of martial. So you have to respect that and and see that probably d6 is not so stupid.
correct.
Uh,
You know,
he had play he had played against. Sorry, yeah, go on.
yeah, no, he had played it against whom? Nakamura, right?
Nakamura and Shanklin.
Right.
And now the black is threatening knight a5. So you have
Yeah.
to protect your bishop. That's why e3.
So for all the viewers, the move d6 actually defended the e5 pawn. So now this is no longer hanging. So the knight on c6 can move and then take this bishop. And white really doesn't want to part with that bishop. So I think all the options here are about saving this bishop on b3.
Yes.
So you can go say a3, a4, c3, even bd2, right?
Yes. Bishop d2 is also the point is to stop knight a5.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite move?
Uh, whichever move wins me the game. So there's no like absolute favorite. I would just play what like at that day what I feel is like the
So
best move.
all moves are kind of
Yeah, every move
interesting.
has its own merits and downsides. It's just too big, too early to comment.
Correct.
That which is the absolute best or something.
Okay, A3.
Queen d7. Now the problem for black is usually the knight on c6. So one of the ways to solve it is to go knight d8, knight e6 in this line. That's why queen d7.
Okay, okay. So that's the point. Hmm.
It's very standard maneuver. Like
Nice.
otherwise, black goes either knight a5 or knight b8.
Yeah, here knight a5, bishop a2, and c5 can also be played.
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
And then you can put your bishop like this, something like that.
Usually they go for this. I think when the knight is already on c3, but here knight is on b1, so you can go knight d2, knight f1. I think that's the point.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's also subtle. If you play this move, there are like a couple of options for black, but if you try to avoid that, you give other options. That's the beauty and the downside of Marshall and this
Correct.
Railope structures.
Right.
Anyways, so queen d7, knight c3, rook e8, and this was the um, opening is the most interesting moment because Russia played bishop d2, which is very rare. It was played only in 3 games, but it's one of the choices of computers. And as you had rightly remarked a few moves ago, that bishop d2 was a move, so it's very standard
But
as well.
but now what sense does it make? Because the knight is in the way, so I'm not even stopping knight a5. If I was white, I would put my bishop out on g5 and like an active piece.
Yeah, but you don't really like you go knight d8 probably or h6, or you can even play maybe knight d4 in this position. I
Yeah.
think so. I'm not sure.
Mm. But BD2, what's the point? I mean, it's just a developing move, like asking black what he's planning to do.
Yes, yes. You kind of wait.
Mm.
And yeah, after bishop g5, which is also a possible move, by the way.
Mm.
Now that I see it, it's not so bad.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you have to play knight d8, and
Okay.
you get 96 with a tempo. Although that doesn't really, as bishop g5 has its own merits. It's also one of the moves.
Okay. So let's play BD2 and can black sort of force the issue with knight d4 now? Because I can take right
Yeah, you have to take ed and now knight e2.
and c5 perhaps, defending
Yes.
the pawn on d4.
Mm,
How do we assess this position? Because this, I guess, this is somewhere where black should be looking. I mean, at these options, right?
just 1 second. I was looking at my analysis. I think it's very standard in this structure to go for this. One of the ideas is sometimes to play c3.
After c5.
Yeah,
Okay.
or the uh, another idea is to ignore what black is doing and go for knight g3, knight f5,
Hmm.
and queen f3, and so on. It's very messy.
It's an interesting position.
Yeah, it's just we are analyzing move 12, so it's just the opening part of the game.
Correct. So okay, knight d8 was logical because he wants to get his knight to e6.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was always the plan.
yes. The thing is, I can mention, like, I think in Nakamura's game, knight d5, knight d5 ed, knight a7 was played by Ding Liren,
Hmm.
and then he got in c6. And if I remember correctly, let's say, okay, just for argument's sake, yeah, I'm not saying that this is the best move,
Hmm.
but just to prove a point, let's say something like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
then the knight on a7
Hmm.
can actually come into the game. Sorry,
Via b6.
knight c8, knight b6, or knight c8. I'm not really good with the arrows. Knight e7.
Okay.
But when you compare it to one of the lines which I'll show in the game. Knight on d8 is really misplaced. So let's say knight d8, knight d5. Now you don't have to take actually. You can even play knight e6.
Yeah, this is
But
where I thought, was knight into d5 a mistake, because it kind of made the knight on d8 very passive.
probably. But the downside is that you give up the bishop.
Hmm.
It's okay. I think it would be again.
It's a
And
choice. It's a
yeah, it's a
choice.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah. So you wouldn't
but
say knight into d5 is such a bad move.
it could be. It very well could be because after ed,
Yeah.
you see that. Let's say if you play c6, c4,
Yeah.
like cd, and the knight on d8 is really misplaced, horribly misplaced.
Yeah.
So if it were up to me, I think 96 is a better move, I would say,
Okay. Okay.
instead of going for this. It's funny how easily Ding collapsed in this game, which is very unlike him. c5. Now a4 was a very good move, activating the rook.
Yeah.
And yeah, f5 is again like shocking. You open up this diagonal. It's logical that you want
Which
to bring
you open
bring the
up
knight to
this diagonal. Yeah. Okay.
b3 to yeah this. I mean, it's logical that you want to put knight on f7, but just concretely it loses a pawn.
Correct. So maybe we can ask our viewers here to pause the video and try to find what is the best way for white to continue, because what looks very obvious, perhaps here maybe not so obvious for you. How should white win a pawn?
Yeah, it's not so obvious. The thing is, okay, I think the
Yeah,
viewers can pause it, so I'll go ahead.
let's go ahead.
AB, rook 8, bishop 8, and now it looks natural to play knight e5, yeah?
Yes, yes.
D6. But the downside is that there's move c4.
Okay, and I can take on e7 here.
Yeah, take on e7, take on b3, take on d8, rook on d8, rook takes d8. Now, if you play rook e5, there is some ideas like queen c6, c2 and g2 both are hanging.
Hmm.
And okay, black is probably even better.
Right.
Uh, the problem is just simple c4, and the other diagonal is the issue.
No, this move c4 once played looks really strong, but I think when it's not on the board, it's sometimes you can miss this move.
Yeah, and but what's surprising is with the speed with Ding was playing, it was not like he was really taking a lot of time. He was playing relatively quickly, not like very fast or something. I think after bishop d2, he thought for 10 minutes, and then on every move like 7-8 minutes and stuff like this. But let's say when this c4 happened, he had only used like 25 minutes till now,
Right.
and it's already very difficult position. So that's what is surprising. Today, just probably he wasn't himself.
Yes. So here the
The usual
point.
self.
I mean, he's not losing a pawn, right? He can go rook f8.
But then I think this knight e5 tricks work.
So cb, right, first.
Yeah, now if you play queen b5, I think knight e5 works if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't it?
Yes, it works, because now if you take d6 and there is no c4 tricks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And but the point is, after knight f7, cb.
So I think Vashya was saying, I think during his live commentary, that he probably expected bishop f6, cb queen f7. Now you are taking the d5 pawn,
Right.
but white has a very strong move, bishop g5. And if you take on d5, take on d5, queen d5, takes, knight h4, and it's strategically lost position.
Nice.
You're getting queen h5 and everything. So the rest of the game, not much to see. It's already very tough position. I think we can just look for few moves.
Correct.
CB G5 also desperate. Yeah, when you have to play such moves, it also shows the desperation.
Yeah, it's like already he's lost the battle on the queen side and the center, so he just started pushing his pawns.
Yeah, it's a very tough position. What can I say? Knight h2, and now black has zero counterplay.
Yeah.
You saw, how he tried to play king g6 and h5, something so desperate.
Correct.
But okay, I have no good suggestion. Already it's a very difficult position.
Yeah,
King takes g4, very. Now after this, black has zero counterplay.
correct.
And okay, the rest of the game is not so interesting, I think. There's no point in looking at it.
Okay, I'll just go through until the end so that the viewers know how it ended. It
Yes.
was the e5 pawn became weak over here, and Ding Liren kind of, sorry, MVL ganged up on it. And this queen exchange was also fine because these pawns are just too strong. By the way, Vidit, I really like the end of this game because after knight d8, I would like the viewers to think how to win with white
Mm-hmm.
here. It's a small tactic.
Yes, it's not so. It's a quite a good one.
Yeah, it's a cute tactic. So white played b7, and the point is if you take with the knight, there is knight e4 check, winning the rook, and if bishop b7, then bishop a5, and you win one piece for sure. So Ding Liren resigned. Great game. I think to beat Ding Liren with such ease is never easy. Uh,
Yes. Sorry, I was just laughing because I just saw the result and Anish has drawn the game,
wow.
and I did not see that coming, so I was laughing. I mean, it's a very paradoxical statement to say Anish drew and I did not see it coming, but
Well, often he is better and he draws, then you can make this joke. But when he's losing and he draws, it's not. It's a good thing, good result for Anish.
everything has to be taken in the context. That's what I will say.
Okay, so we'll should we see the Anish one or first?
We'll keep the best for the last.
Okay, okay.
That's the
So that's the dessert. It comes at the end.
Yes. I think Anish has many fans all over the world, and they would be very eager. So they will probably watch the video till the end.
Okay, okay. So Nepo versus Grischuk. I think you must have seen the photo of Nepo and Grischuk shaking hands with each other. Not shaking hands, but shaking elbows.
Really?
Yeah, you haven't seen this.
No,
Oh,
I'm not in social media, not as so active on social media, so I probably missed it. I did
okay.
see the video where Nepo did not shake hands with Karpov. That was
Yes.
pretty
But today,
amusing.
Nepo said, I don't want to shake hands. So Grischuk said, okay, let's shake elbows. And he went like this, and they both shook elbows. It was quite a funny photo. Um,
We should introduce them to the concept of Namaste. I think it's easier now.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Should have done that. But
Anyways, we are digressing.
okay, so this time it was
Yeah,
your favorite opening, the
I
Mark.
think the I think the most exciting opening out there in the world, and which everyone is very excited to see as usual.
Berlin.
Berlin, and that to the end game.
But it's a solid part of your repertoire, right?
Yeah, I do play Berlin from time to time.
Yeah. So you like it clearly with black, and I think you would have been pleased with the result. I think black.
I would just, in my defense, I would say Alpha Zero played Berlin.
So
No, no more arguments after that. Yeah, everyone just pin drop silence after that.
yeah, because at some point everyone said, "Oh, what's your opening repertoire? If Berlin is in your repertoire, you're a boring person." I mean, they don't even talk to you. Yeah.
Who says this?
No, I'm just saying that was how people perceived. Uh,
Yes. Anyways, so uh,
I think going into the subtleties of this opening as to why if
I
knight
think
c3 is better or rook d1 would take.
I think we'll need 100 plus hours of video content. We'll save it for some other day.
Sure, sure. So king e8, h3, h5. Take us to the important position, and just so that we can understand, because I clearly for me this game is like one game of 40 moves. I don't really know where the tide turned or what happened.
Yeah, sure. So this is all known so far, and there are a lot of subtleties, but I don't think it makes sense to show everything.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would leave something to the imagination or the work for the viewers.
Okay.
Um, I think Rook F1 was first played by Kramnik. It
Mm-hmm.
was a new concept. It was played in 2017 candidates. I think so, if I'm right. Before that, they used to play G3 and other
Okay.
lines.
Okay.
Uh, because the idea was that the main hmm, advantage in Berlin for black is the two bishops.
Mm.
So in this line, you kind of take that away. But on the downside, you double your pawns. So it's a fight between the strategic trumps. Now you take away two bishops, but you have the damaged pawn structure.
Yes, and you have an active majority here, so the hope is that you can start pushing it, correct?
Yes, yes. And h4. And previously, they used to play knight e4 and g4. Anish has played it. Vashir has played like few games. Uh, Basically, the plan for white is to push g4, and all other moves are just like preparing and trying to create an ideal scenario.
Correct.
So king h2 is preparatory move. He wants to play g4.
Mm.
And now I think Grishuk was in his opening preparation, because I think he only thought for like 8 minutes in this position.
Okay.
So
Yeah. For Grischuk, it is more like if you are out of opening preparation, he would take 30 minutes or so.
yeah, so he had only used 25 minutes so far. So I think he was definitely blitzing.
Correct.
Uh,
Okay.
so king h2, and now he played a very nice move, king f8.
Yes.
I like this move. The main problem for black is how to connect the rooks. And now with king f8, he's threatening rook e8.
Threatening rook e8. So guys, if you are playing the Berlin, threats are very subtle. Actually, I don't
Okay,
see what the threat is though.
planning rook e8. Like if he had the move, he would play rook e8.
No, but I think rook e8 brings everything in and sort of coordinates all the pieces, right?
Yeah, it's a useful move.
Correct.
Uh,
But let's say I take on e6, rook e6, and rook d7. Not so dangerous, yes. Like
yeah, you can always play rook c8 or rook e7. I don't know.
hmm,
Or rook. I think maybe rook c8 is more precise. Who knows? And then king e8 next move.
okay,
Nepo did not expect king f8, and he was all on his own.
right.
Now one of the moves is to probably play g4 or remove the knight and play g4, knight e4 and g4. Knight f3 or g4. Like many ideas,
Hmm,
but it's clear that white has to go for it.
right.
And if you just observe Nepo's next few moves, just let's go through it, and then you will see how much of a difference it would make if he had played g4 here. So he played rook b1, b6, rook b4. I mean, I don't understand. Probably wants to play bishops. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know. Rook
I'm feeling good here because when I saw this game, I didn't understand this rook maneuver, and now that you also say the same, it feels good. But
yes.
maybe there's no point, yeah, to get the rook here as such.
Yes. At least to me, I don't see the point. Like he played rook e8, rook a4, a5. It's all useful moves for black, which he provoked. b6 is useful, a5 is useful. Bishop d2, c5. And after rook f4, rook h5, rook f3, king g8. So black has improved his position to the maximum. He has played
Correct.
rook e8, he has played b6, he has played a5. The rook on h6 has improved to h5, and still he has not got g4. And after bishop c1, he can even improve the knight.
Hmm.
And now, when black has obtained the optimal position,
Hmm.
now you go g4. H, and now black is absolutely zero problem. He's even better.
Right.
So
Right.
this plan, like with this rook before and this rook dance, I just don't get it.
Correct.
It's
So at the end of the day,
I cannot explain it.
it gave black a good position, clear advantage here. Uh,
Yeah, because you played like let's compare like this position you see on the board,
hmm.
and uh, here if you play g4,
So let's just try to say, for
you see
example,
the difference, right?
yeah,
Both the rooks are already centralized. Black's rook is not in the game. The rook on h6 is still like Like you can play knight e4 and the rook on h6, you will attack, you will gain a tempo.
Right.
Everything is in white's favor if you play g4 here.
Correct.
But after improving the position so much and then g4. No, it looks like I'm probably mocking, but I'm not mocking. It's just funny that in the worst possible position this happened. This
Sometimes,
rook maneuver didn't make sense.
how do you explain this? Like world class players who clearly know the strategic ideas in a position.
No, it happens, when you're playing the game. It happens to all of us.
Mm.
It's probably he had some idea in mind which did not work, and then it's already difficult to go back.
Yeah.
So that's why he had to kind of justify. And you try to make an idea, you try to justify it. Oh, probably it should work, but it kind of helped black.
Yes. But I think next part would be nice for Nepo because he managed to hold it here.
Yeah, it's this was the critical position, and at this point, Grishuk played 98,
Hmm.
but he could have played 97.
With the idea of knight g6 perhaps?
95.
Knight d5. And
One
say I
second.
try to stop. Okay, if I go c4, it becomes a weakness. Like you can always attack it with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bishop.
C4 is a weakness. Probably he did not like rook d3. I'm just wondering. But then you go knight g6 as you pointed out, or like first bishop f5.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry,
Rook
rook
d3.
d3, bishop f5, rook d2, knight g6, and white's pieces are stuck.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think this is a dream position for any Berlin player. I mean,
Yeah,
he would
yeah, definitely,
enjoy playing it.
definitely. And probably one of the lines which I was checking when I was analyzing the game was like rook e2,
Hmm.
knight d5, bishop d2, because it makes sense to keep the rook centralized. But downside is this: rook g5, okay, g4 something, and then you go rook g6, rook h6, rook h8, and this is exactly what happened in the game.
Hmm.
Not quite exactly, but very similar. Knight d8, king g2, and rook h8.
But
But he
without
would
a
have got the
pawn.
same position with pawn on c3.
Correct.
And okay, it looks like it's still opposite color bishop, but if we go further ahead, you can see that black played b5 b4, and this pawn on c3 would have made a big difference if it was there. So black was
Ah.
clearly in the driving seat in this game, but this critical moment, only for one move, he had a big chance, I
So
would say.
here, instead of going knight d8, Grischuk should have gone knight e7.
Yes.
I have one question about Grischuk, which is like, I know he's a genius, he's an amazing player, but he loses or misses so many chances because of his time pressure. I clearly feel that he cannot win a tournament like candidates with such a big time pressure problem. Do you feel the same?
Uh, for example, in this position, he had like 1 minute or something, or 2 minutes.
Correct.
Of course, it's very difficult to judge which move is better. Knight
Correct.
d8 looks safer because you put knight on e6 and you block everything.
Yes.
Uh, Definitely, if he had more time, he's very much capable of finding knight e7. There's no
Exactly.
doubt, absolutely. And many times he has found ideas which are very deep.
Yes.
He's a player who goes very deep in the position, and he has very unique and original ideas many times.
Correct.
But sometimes it comes at the cost of this huge time pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even yesterday he was winning, and which we probably could not see, but yeah, he was winning yesterday.
Yes.
And just because of the time pressure, probably many times he misses out on this opportunities.
Yeah, it's really surprising that a world class player like Grishchuk suffers from time pressure from so many years and has doesn't try to sort of fix it, or maybe he's tried it but has not been able to. Let's see what he is able to achieve in this event. We should go to the final game of the day, also the most exciting one, the
I think
draw.
of all the candidate players who are there, Anish is most likely to watch this video.
Really. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Just
but
by the odds, just by the odds. I think if you
but
had to bet, yeah.
But he is on social media, yeah, even in such an important event.
Is he? I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not surprised if he is.
He was posting on Instagram every day. There is one post, so he's definitely there. Uh,
So Chessbase India also provides free promotion of other players. Good to know.
yeah. Okay. So let me get the game here of.
Yeah, to be honest, I've only analyzed till certain point because afterwards it was live show,
Yes.
live game, and I could not follow.
Okay. So let's see here. Anish was black, and we had this very interesting. I know that here white can play d4 move directly, but how does the inclusion of h4 h6 change things?
Uh, to be honest, actually, H4 was played by Anish himself in 2017.
Okay.
So he was. It's very safe to assume that he was well aware of the details.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's very subtle. Like sometimes the pawn on H6 is a weakness, and yeah, it's I don't know. Like to be precise, I had a game where white did not play H4
Yeah.
against Artemiev, and when we'll analyze, we'll see that although it's a different line, but some of the patterns are very similar. Like in the game H6, he was targeting
Correct.
Wang Hao. So
Yeah.
okay, it's a different line, different concept. Um, I think
Okay.
H4 recently was also played by Magnus twice, so definitely it was not a surprise for Anish.
Okay. So d4, h4, h6, d4, and the point is after cd you sacrifice a pawn, but you have knight b5 looking at these weak squares.
Yeah, I
And
mean one of the point is of H4 is like if you don't play H6, if you go knight F6, then you got D4, which was I think played in Magnus against Carlsen against Kasim Jano in Isle of Man.
okay.
So H6 you kind of H4 is useful and H6 could be a weakness, something like this.
Hmm. Hmm.
No, D4 is a rare move. Uh, I think Magnus against Wesley played E3 if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Also, there is one of the ideas is to instead of E3 to play D3. Now H4 kind of makes sense because 97 there is ideas of bishop d3 and to play queen c1, and this h6 pawn is not so easy to defend after castle, for
Hmm.
example. So there are some ideas, very subtle ideas,
Okay.
but d4 is not the main move for sure.
Hmm.
And Anish was playing quickly, played c3,
Yeah. You took.
so I assume that he was in his preparation.
Right.
But d5 takes. You cannot play bishop f4 because queen f5 check, so you have to castle. Uh, Knight f6, bishop f4, castles. So far he played all quickly,
Hmm.
but after queen c1 he took a long thing. I
Yeah.
think it was huge amount of time he spent on this position. Let me see. He spent around like 46 minutes, 47 minutes.
Wow. 46. This might be a record for thinking. Most number of minutes thinking time, at least in this tournament. But I mean, 46 is a lot of time.
Yeah, it's just it's. I was checking. Computer doesn't show queen c1, and probably he was out of the book, and
Well, if
it.
I was playing here, I would say h6 is hanging. I'll go king h7 without much thought. But I think Anish was looking at whether to play a6 first or not. Yeah. So otherwise,
No, even the thing is, if you play knight fd4, I think you can play a6,
yes, a6.
and then you have to kind of play knight 6, which connects the pawn. And if you play knight d4,
Hmm.
you can simply play rook e8,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Let me just confirm.
Yeah. Rook e8 seems
Yeah,
like a
rook
good move.
e8.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you play if you play rook c1, just wait, for what, like if a6, then you again take. There's a move knight h5.
Hmm.
So probably he knew all this, but queen c1 was not one of the moves which engine showed, and now he didn't know what to do because rook e8 doesn't make sense. uh, a6 is the move which he played, which is also not good, and knight h5 loses a pawn. So all his familiar ideas which he had, that did not work in this position.
Okay, so he had to
So,
think of something new, and that's when
exactly.
usually people take time on the clock.
Yeah, and probably I'm sure he might have seen the right moves, but a6 is just really bad. Uh, I think the simplest was to play bishop g4. The key thing to remember is that taking on h6 is not really a threat now. Let's say you take,
Hmm.
you can even play queen b6 in this position. Also, there's an idea of playing bishop f3.
Hmm.
Bishop f3, queen b6 is better, but even a6 and the knight on b5 has to go to a3, kind of.
Ah, okay.
You know,
Ah. So bg4 is eliminating one of the attackers of d4 pawn.
yes, and if you take on d4, then the queen on c1 is just completely misplaced. You go rook c8,
Okay.
and now okay, you have to waste time with the queen, yeah.
Hmm.
So I just don't know what uh, he missed or what was going on in his, because thinking of 46 minutes, something was definitely not working.
Correct.
And he played a6, but now it allows like just free play for white. You get knight d4 for absolutely free, and this blockade is quite annoying to play with this isolated pawn.
Yeah, after take king h7, uh, white
You
has
know,
small edge.
y- yeah, I mean, like, even in the worst case, to tell you why a6 is bad,
Hmm.
even in the worst case, if black had played king h7, white had nothing better than to take on d4 with the knight.
Yeah, yeah, which was my move. Yeah, king h7. So,
Yes.
but I think after king h7, take
So,
knight
like,
take,
you compare it with the game. Like,
and
he played a6, knight d4, and then king h7.
mm,
So, it's like you wasted a move.
yeah, but maybe Anish was like of yeah, rook e8 you always have. I mean, that's a useful move
Yeah,
instead of
a6 is not
a6.
so useful.
Yeah,
You can play other moves. I'm not saying king h7 is good, but it's better than a6.
correct.
So definitely something he also knows it, that it's not right. But
Yeah,
as the clock gets ticking and you somehow play a move, then you realize, why did I play this? It's just one of the things which happens to chess players. It's hard to explain
correct.
why it
Yeah.
happens.
And after that, well, let's say when you are not playing so much or you are on a break, you always wonder why that happens. But when you're sitting on the board,
Yeah.
such
And when there
mistakes.
is coronavirus, you don't know, what's happening.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
anyways, so basically the next part of the game was white has small pressure
Yeah.
and black is defending. He has this isolated pawn on the d5, and he has to just kind of try to get some counterplay in return for that, which is not so easy.
And Wang Hao likes such positions.
Who doesn't?
Well, maybe some aggressive player, maybe
You know,
Caruana.
no, it's like you're in candidates and you're white and you get a free play. Like there's no risk and you're better and you can just keep on playing. I think it's a
Yeah.
good deal.
Yeah, I mean, for you, this is a dream position because this is your forte. You really like to grind your opponents. So, okay, f3 slightly uncomfortable, but I think anyway,
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
it's not a big deal. He got his king in, bishop f1.
Yeah, I mean, there are many moves possible here, but it's so minute here and there difference. It's hard to even criticize anyone.
Correct,
It's
yeah.
very tough to play
It's
accurately.
just the nature of the position is tough for black
Yeah.
to somehow equalize,
Yes.
and
Already
white
you
can.
see here the importance of the move a6. Like if you play the right move there, you don't have to suffer throughout the game.
Yes, correct.
And if you play that, it's already becomes so tough. And you're just defending now, and it's not like something magically you can create here. You're just on worse and you have to defend.
Yeah.
Now this is a good exchange to exchange this bishop.
Mhm.
then you can play around the d5 pawn. Probably you can go bishop d3, bishop c2, bishop b3, some one of the ideas.
Right. Yeah, this is a good idea you suggested, which he didn't do, but was possible.
Yeah, it's just one of the ideas. Like
Yeah.
white has many ways to improve his position. That's what I want to say.
Correct. Rook
And now
E8.
it was very strange, what black, like white has a bishop, white color bishop,
Mm-hmm.
and black has this bishop on e6, which is basically defending.
Mm.
And after a5, probably b4 is more accurate, but anyways, a5, knight d4, he played bishop d7, allowing him to fix this weakness on b5.
Yeah. So you
Like
would have recommended B4 here,
b4,
means?
yes, because now it's not so easy for white to attack this pawn on b4 compared to the pawn on b5, which is,
Hmm.
yeah, it's quite obvious.
Yeah.
It's actually, first of all, it's very obvious. Everything is very obvious when you're sitting and watching from outside.
Correct.
But just it seems much simpler to play b4 because in the game after this, the weakness on b5 was fixed and not so easy. Yeah, the thing is when you have this unpleasant position, you get tired defending, and I don't want to criticize anyone
Yeah,
for
and maybe Anish thought that after take Rook A8 he might get some play. Uh, but
maybe.
I think Wang Hao just first defended his B4 pawn, and
Yeah, now rook c5 is coming and it's not so easy to defend. Yeah.
you win a pawn. I think such positions are should be converted. I think, yeah, like white has a clear advantage here.
Yeah, especially after move 40. But after my game in Prague, I've lost the right to tell anyone how to win the
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
So I have no justification.
Well, right now you're a commentator, and it's your task to reprimand bad moves of players.
If I'm a commentator and if I have the right to criticize everyone's move, it's a fun job, I would say. If I'm allowed to do that, it's
if
fun.
if you are retired, yeah, you don't want to play chess anymore, it's
Yes,
fun. But you
yes,
are going to
because
play next tournament, and you know that these mistakes could happen from you as
yes,
well.
it's just part of the game.
Right.
But objectively, when we look at the game, the entire point is to know what went
Yes.
wrong. It's not the point is not to say that he played bad. It's just to understand why white won, or what was the turning point, and so on.
Correct.
Just to analyze the game, not the players.
Yes. Although when it's Anish, you try to analyze him as a player, yeah, because he's your good friend.
No, analyze. I mean to critique the player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, every player is different, and you see, for example, Ding plays Marshall. You
Yes.
take that into consideration. The
Correct.
point is not to criticize the player. That's what I mean.
Mhm. So
Anyways,
if you had to win this position, like you had to make some plans, you played move by move, or you would say I should put my bishop back on e2, push b5, maybe
yeah, in general, every position is
move by move.
yeah, it has its own what to say, concrete points. But I had the similar position actually,
Hmm.
with this extra pawn and bishop against knight
And then
against Seturaman in Isle of Man first round.
ah
So the idea is basically to exchange the rooks, and then it becomes easier. In that game, I managed to exchange all 4 rooks, and the bishop is much stronger than the knight with
okay,
outside passed pawn.
okay.
Um,
So in a way, when you have a technical advantage, many times it pays to actually think what pieces you want to keep on the board, which pieces you would like to exchange, and if you know that, maybe it gives you the right track to go on.
yes, for example, in that game against Seturaman, he told me that it was the best chance for him to exchange the rooks. But for me, it was clear that if I exchange the rooks, I'm winning.
Hmm.
So it was because we both are in time pressure, it was a decision based on judgment, not on concrete calculation.
Correct.
So it helps, of course, to analyze, to know such type of end games, basically.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've not analyzed the rest of the game as we were talking.
Yeah. Let's quickly just see how it ended. E4. was played to make some progress here. One rook was exchanged.
Yeah, but the rook which he exchanged
Hmm.
is like the passive rook, on b6.
So maybe something like this would have been better. If
I'm
if
not
he got,
sure. I'm not sure if e4 was also the right way to go. To play e4.
yeah, but
Probably,
somehow you have to make progress, right? I
no.
mean, it's
Instead of bishop d3, was it possible to play rook a2 to get the a file?
hmm. Okay. Let's say I don't exchange. I come here,
Then I can give check, right, on a6.
check, and has to go back because king e5 would be too risky. Back.
Yeah, and then at some point I should play g4 to take away the f5 square.
Yeah, seems like there are several ways, maybe more.
Yeah, it's one of the ways. Like you play g4, and principle of two weaknesses, you create another weakness on the queen side,
Mm,
king side. Sorry.
and you
Then you play
play
h5, and you have
h.
two passed pawns. Already tough to contain.
Right. Okay, so exchanges, and then Anish kind of created a
Yeah,
blockade.
the thing is, I have not really. Again, if I say something, it would not be fair because I've not really analyzed, and probably the players thought for long. So it would be unfair to
So
just say
here
some
here
comment on
they
this part.
agreed to a draw.
Yeah, already it was not easy when you have this active rook. Yeah, I don't know where was the actual mistake, but it already seems that exchanging this rook didn't make the task any simpler
Right. Right.
because now black has this active rook on c3.
Okay.
So that's my intuitive feeling that exchanging this rook was not done in the best possible way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe it was better to play g4 at some point. Wait, because the rook was on b7 was really passive.
Correct. Okay, so with it, we looked at all the four games. It was great fun. In fact, for me, it was big learning.
Yeah,
To
probably we went for too long, but I
no,
hope.
not really. I mean, I thought it will go for 2 hours, but it's just 1 hour 12 minutes. So,
Uh,
uh, not bad. And well, it's a great experience for me and also for the viewers to learn from you, especially the small things that you spoke about are just so it's not covered in any chess literature. It's not shown anywhere, and here you are showing all these little points which player of your caliber takes notice of. So that was very useful. And what is a normal day for you like? Like tomorrow, I hope we can do this again in the evening at night after the games are over. But how do you go through the morning? Do you practice chess right now? Is it your training period?
right now it's my resting period, but as like corona virus has made everyone rest,
Yeah.
and which I'm not complaining. I'm happy to actually get this rest.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm of course looking at chess, and as you can see, I'm following candidates like every other chess player, chess fan. So it's very hard to just not have any connection with chess,
Hmm.
even if when you're resting, it's just in your blood after so many years.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. You don't feel right if you don't see chess. I'm going to end today's conversation with one final question because I don't want to ask this question anytime again in the next
You have
stream.
built it up so much. The question better be good.
No, it's not a very good question, and but you cannot dismiss it off. So, if you had to guess who would win this candidates now with 2 rounds, so it's not like asked you at the start, but seeing the style of play already of players.
No, I would be fair. Like before the tournament itself, in one of the interviews, I told that Fabi, Caruana, and Ding Liren are the favorites.
Hmm.
So it would be stupid for me to turn away from it. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
for
but
Ding
now
now, it's a big task.
exactly.
Um, I think Fabiano is one of the favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing
I would.
very bold chess, and to Ding, I think it's difficult to recover, but let's see if he can do it.
Yeah.
So with it, thanks a lot, and see you tomorrow for round 3 analysis.
See you. Bye bye.